can't really talk about the readings unless somebody else wants to.
So the readings, that was just the last chapter, right? Where it talked about the different designs and the SPSS tests you would use and how to do hypothesis testing. I felt like it was kind of a review of our last class or of statistics with a few more designs and tests added in.
Okay.
I was frustrated this morning. I logged in and I was reading all the information for the test review and reviewing the chapters, and I got all ready. I was going to take the last exam, and I clicked to the next page and it wouldn't let me take it. There was no like start button, and I realized, oh, it doesn't open until Saturday. And I was just like, just frustrated with myself for not cluing in.
Is that the final you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. That's hard because when you prep and you're all ready for it.
Yeah, right? You're like, okay, although it looks like the time is unlimited this time around, which will be handy. It didn't have any questions, but it did have the little time signature and it said unlimited.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
It said time about 2 hours, and is the guess that it thinks it'll take us. So I don't know if there's more questions or if it's harder.
Strange. So Tiffany's, let's review what Tiffany said. She said, I thought it was a different test that you can do. That's always hard for me. I struggled with that in stats as well. So she's talking about the reading. Chapter 15. So does the reading help you to like determine which test you want to use for your?
So there's a chart. Is it 457? And that to me was the most helpful. I mean, knowing what I wanted to do already, when I would go through the readings, I was already like, oh, so this fits mine, this doesn't.
Right.
But the chart on page 457, I guess it's 456 and 57. But I think that really helps because it's like, okay, I've got one qualitative, I've got this. And when I took the quiz for this chapter, it gave you a few different like scenarios or designs and asked what test you would use.
Yeah.
And so I used that for that.
Yeah, that was one of the hardest things for me in SPSS when I was trying to figure out which test to use. Or not in SPSS, in the stats class that I took. Right. So I struggled with that a lot. So hopefully I'll be able to pick one.
What was that?
Hopefully I'll be able to pick one that makes sense for mine.
So yes, Tiffany, I turned in my final paper and the poster. Finishing the final paper was like, woo, look, that's done. And I was unsure because I think you were the one that had pointed out, like it says it was due Monday, but then it didn't have it due and turn it in until like later on this week. But I went ahead and turned it in, and I had already done the sample data before he posted his announcement saying we didn't have to do sample data.
Oh, yeah.
And he also recommended that we attach the poster or take a picture and share it in the discussion board for the week. So I did that as well. I don't know what good it is because like it's all shrunk down, so you can't really see it that well, but I did it.
Let me go look at it. Tiffany said she saw it and she thought it was awesome.
No.
Was it hard to do? Did it take you a while?
So what I did was I took the various parts of my paper because it has them listed in there, like in the template, and I just put the whole thing in there. And then while I was in the poster, because the directions were, you know, like to trim it down, only the key points. So just in there, I used the bullet points and made bullet points of the specific things.
Right.
And you're just right in what type of study you did. So in the final paper I did, in that section that was after the methods discussion, or the methods, but before the discussion, the procedure, I noted what type, the design that I had, and then what type of test I would run in SPSS, because it even said to tell, you know, what type of program you use. So I put that in there. And then I did run sample data since mine had, since I was doing a two-way ANOVA. I just took the sample data that we were given in chapter 9 of the SPSS book, and I changed the categories to the categories I was doing, and then I had a random number generator and ran it through. So obviously they wouldn't show up as anything significant, but I just wanted to run the test, I was figuring. But then in the poster, I also included what I feel would have been, if the results I was hoping or expecting would come up. I also noted, like, okay, the bar graph would look like this and the line graph would look like this if it was the results that I was expecting.
Right. Yeah, well, I think your poster looks great too.
No stairs, baby.
Did you have to write an abstract for our paper? Or
yes, I have to write an abstract for the paper.
Did you have to?
So I think what we're supposed to do is just add in the design and analysis, or whatever that middle section is, add in the discussion and the abstract, follow through the abstract, and then add any appendices that you want, and then your paper's done.
All right.
I think for me the most time consuming, or the most difficult part, was that intro with the lit review.
Yeah, that was challenging. But the rest of it should be relatively easy. So Tiffany asked, in your final paper, did you write in what type of study you would do? Did you answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the part between the methods and the discussion. That's where you list
results.
Yeah. So let's see. Oh, mine's on a different computer. I do most of my schoolwork on a Chromebook, and in order to do this paper, I ended up doing it on a regular computer so I could use Word instead of having to download as.
I can't do the number. Mom, what's the number? Mom, what's the number on there?
So, in the appendix, all I did was add in, I had a sample survey in my appendix, and then I also added the data from this. I added in the data from the numbers that I used. Does that make sense?
And the data you got was you just generated it online?
So what I did was I took, using the design that mine was, I took the, Joshua, go. I'm not going to do the number right now. I took the data from the sample data that they gave us in this book for chapter 9. And then I took that and reformulated it for my purposes. So instead of physical therapy and the interaction with something else, I don't remember what it was, I used the interaction of preferred employment and actual employment. And then I used a random number generator to generate between 7 and 35 for the scale scores and ran that down. And then I just ran those numbers. So it obviously wouldn't have been anywhere near accurate because they would all average out to be the same.
Yeah. Okay.
But then I generated the 2 graphs, and it was the 2 graphs that I put in the appendix. But he said we don't need to do that. But
yeah.
I did it because I used it for my poster.
Yeah, it makes your poster look nice. Our posters are going to be ugly without anything on them.
Yeah. Actually, I can see it on Turnitin if I go to Turnitin. Log. Turnitin is down, so apparently I can't look at it on Turnitin.
Yeah, I was trying to use Turnitin this morning and it's having some issues, so.
Let me go hit that icon. So I felt it would have been redundant to add it in again to on the appendix. Does that make sense? Since I already had it in the paper, what we would use.
Yeah.
Word.
So Tiffany said I was thinking of adding pictures of kids playing on my poster, but I don't think that's the kind of picture he's talking about. I'm on Turnitin. Where do I find his feedback? His feedback for the methods or for... I always have a hard time with that. So what you do is you click on view. So, and then it pops up automatically. And then there should be a view rubric that you click on the page where it pops up your picture of your assignment.
Really? Because all I ever saw were the little individual bubble comments.
For his mark of our paper? Because he gives us a rubric, like for my methods draft, I have it open. So
on Turnitin or in the...
On Turnitin. So under participants, I have like a score out of 7, and then material, a score out of 7, procedures, all that has a score out of 7. Because he doesn't really leave notes inside my paper, and so I had a hard time understanding.
He had a couple.
My answers were. Does that make sense what I said, how to find it?
Yeah, well, I'm looking. Oh, I got in. Okay, so if I go to view.
And then it'll pop up a window for you. Or at least it does for me.
Yeah, it's still loading. The feedback studio. So
yeah.
So the little thing that says view rubric.
Yeah, so click on that, and then that'll give you like a score on his rubric, and he gives you comments on each of them.
I wonder if this would have changed, like if there's other things I would have changed about it before submitting it.
Yeah, he gave me a really good mark on the methods, but then there's some really good advice in the rubric that he told me about things I could change. So
Turnitin will be back soon.
Maybe they're overloaded this morning.
Now can you put the number? Please.
Not right now.
Mom, I can't do the number.
No, do something else while you wait. Yeah, I can't get in. So in the sample paper that we had to, the one that had the little blue marks, if you scroll down to where it says, just after the method section, it says propose statistical analysis or results. And it says indicate your design, your study design. You should always provide democratic data on your subject, state that you'll do this, and also discuss what tests you'll use to analyze the data and explain what you expect to find. If you plan on using statistical software to run the analysis, which I'm guessing you will, specify which one you will use. So because I had the information in there about what test I was running, I didn't include it in an appendix.
Why are you think it's going to be hard to clean? Looks perfectly clean.
There's the rubric. Okay, fortunately, there's nothing in here that would have changed what I would have done.
Good.
The most of any editing I had before I sent it back was his tips on the instructors page. Tiffany, you said sometimes you don't see those. Did you see the instructor's notes this time around?
Josh, I love you. I love Josh.
Oh, so Tiffany said that it says that her instructor left no feedback. I wonder if that is a turned in issue or if you just missed mine. I'll have to email him.
So mine, that's what I always thought, was that I didn't get feedback because in the text comment it said no text comment was left for this paper. So I was assuming I didn't really have feedback until just now, where you said click the view rubric button. So Tiffany, did you click the view rubric button?
She did. It's for the time to load, and then she found it.
I'm here.
All right. I feel like there's so much stuff to be done this week.
Yeah, but I think because of the way we've done everything, like it's mostly done. It's a matter of just adding in the last section and a discussion and fine-tuning it.
Yeah, I didn't think we had to write an abstract, so I haven't even thought about that yet. But then as I'm seeing abstract in other places, I'm realizing I had to write that.
Yeah, it saved it for the end because it wanted you to have your discussion done before that. I think the abstract was the most flexible part of my paper.
The what part of your paper? Say that again.
I think the abstract was the most clunky part of my paper.
Oh.
And Tiffany says it was easy. You know, I always struggle, like with English papers and whatnot. They have you do like the body first, and then they want you to do the intro and the conclusion, you know, towards the end. And I always find it really hard doing the conclusion because it's like, well, I already said it in the intro and I showed it in my thing, and I don't know how to share it, you know, dynamically or new or whatever. Conclusion.
I just always say something really dramatic at the end.
Well, my sister said that's like the easiest part to do, and I'm like, ah. So I think that's how I felt about the abstract.
Yeah, I like writing conclusions. Those are my favorite because I just have to be like, well, clearly I'm right. That's just Yeah.
Yeah, Tiffany, you did a very strong study. I mean, do this and show this. I mean, it had a very strong design, so it was probably more straightforward to write. Did you find the intro hard to write, or to show all that? And
I found it hard to like start my intro, and I was really stressed about writing it. But then when I started writing it, it wasn't that bad. Like once I got into the groove of it, and I just had to write like what other studies said, it ended up being pretty easy. But my study, like in the end, it's not really like a psychology study. And Brother Boeing said that to me. He's like, well, your study, like I didn't say it had to be like about psychology, but yours isn't quite psychology.
I was wondering that at the beginning, not yours.
Crossed my mind.
I was wondering at the beginning, it's like studies, and I thought, well, there's all kinds of studies that I'd like to do that aren't necessarily psych studies, but this is a psych class, so maybe we do have to do a psych study.
Yeah. Well, originally I had a different study in mind, and then I just like got frustrated with it, and it just was really hard to like conceptualize and to like find an answer to. So I wanted to do something that was clear, and so then I was kind of interested in aspartame, and like so I decided to do that, and then I was like, oh right, that makes sense that I probably should have done something psychological. He said that I could still do it, but I don't know.
Tiffany said hers wasn't too bad in the comments.
For the intro, I think she's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mind the intro as much. I'm just trying to get all my other stuff done. It's hard to like decide when to do things. Maybe I should just do this paper and get it over with sooner.
Well, and that's kind of how towards the end of the semester, so that debt snowball they always teach you about, like, okay, you have so much time, so you do a little bit and everything, and then you put all your excess into like one, paying off one debt, and then you snowball it. Have you seen the debt snowball? Or am I talking Greek?
I don't know if I've seen that, but I think it makes sense to me.
I think they explain it in like the one for the money and stuff. Oh, glad. Tiffany knows what I mean. So you're supposed to like make minimum payments, and then you apply all of your excess that you can afford to apply towards debt to the smallest debt. And then you have more money to apply to the next smallest, just basically to get rid of all your debt. So I kind of applied that to my classes. It's like, okay, I'm going to do the minimum that I have to do, and then I looked at the content page and looked at how many assignments each class had, and this was the class that had the smallest assignments due. I counted that as my debt, if you will. And so I said, okay, all my extra is going to go to this class until it's done, which is why I finished a lot of it earlier on. Obviously, there were things I couldn't do. Like I didn't want to do the paper without having the feedback. So did have to make, I was waiting for those. But having applied that, like I finished all my classes to where now I'm just waiting on little individual things. So it's kind of nice, which is why this morning I thought, okay, I'm going to take my test. And no, I'm not going to take the test.
Oh.
Because I have to wait for things to open, right? So, and in one of my family classes, the very last week is like a group project. So I have to like wait for everybody else to get there, which is frustrating.
Yeah, Tiffany said all of my classes are time consuming. They aren't particularly hard, but just time consuming. I feel the same way with mine. It just takes time. And I'm doing my internship right now. And so that is just time. Like you have to hit these certain time constraints. And so like I'm doing them online. So that gets really hard for me throughout the week, that I have to do like 10 to 12 hours in a week, and it's just sitting there time, as opposed to like trying to get things done quick. I just have to sit there and like be present in that 2-hour stint that I'm doing it. So it's been interesting.
What are you doing for your internship?
I'm doing it through the National Healthy Marriage Institute. And so I've been like blogging, and then I've been testing out some workshops and editing stuff. And so it's good. And I've been studying how to like make us more accessible online, and trying to make like Facebook more beneficial for us. And I researched some stuff about Pinterest and stuff. So I do research and I do writing, and yeah, it's good. I like it. It's different. I think it's hard for me to be on the computer so much, but I did learn a lot in it, I think.
That was when it seems like they take in all the interns that they can get. And so I thought, well, maybe that's what I'll end up doing.
Yeah, they'll take anybody. So it's good, but they definitely won't say no to anyone.
What did you do at the elementary school, Tiffany?
Mom, I did grass stuff.
I think that would be so hard to do 2 months of full time. I'm impressed that you were able to get everything else done.
And be a mom, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think you have two. Do you have 2 other classes? Is that what you're doing? Oh, geez. Yeah. I just have 2 classes, this psych class and then another family class and my internship. And that's a lot.
So, since the internship's supposed to be towards the end of our assignment, or class, major, whatever, are you guys almost done?
Yeah, I'm graduating this semester.
Yay!
Which is why I decided to do all 3 in one. But I only work like 15 hours a week, or, well, sometimes a bit more, and I'm single, so I can, I don't need to sleep. And I don't have other people needing my time as much as you guys do. How close are you to graduating, Wanda?
I will have, I think, 6 classes left. 9 classes, 6 to 9, I don't remember. So I think it's 6 classes after next semester. So no, I must be 9 classes. That must be where my number comes from. So the thought was I could graduate next winter, but I don't know. Do I want to walk? If I want to walk, I don't necessarily want to drive to Idaho in winter.
Well, I think you can also walk the stage in the following semester. So I don't have to walk the stage this semester. I'm not going to because I don't want to drive from Canada. It's not worth it to me to go all the way.
My husband, we have family, a lot of family in Utah, and he has his birth mother in California. Mm-hmm. So the thought was we could go out there, and if we're already making the effort to go see family. So now I have to decide, do I want to walk? Do I want to make that? Packing up all the kids to go on family vacations like that is not, it's not nice.
Yeah. So Tiffany says, I'm going to walk. My kids need to see me. They hate that I'm in school, so they need to see that I'm actually doing something, not just sitting in the pool. Yeah. I like that. I think that's good. I think it's a good idea to walk. If it was closer for me, I probably would do it too. And I do think it's good to show your kids that it's something worthwhile, and yeah.
Yeah, my oldest daughter, she's in her 2nd year of college, and she was telling me just the other day, she told me, I'm so proud of you, Mom. I'm like, well, I don't think I ever doubted that I could do it. And I don't think she doubted that I could do it. But I think for her to see that, well, it's important and it was a priority for me to do it, I think was important.
Yeah.
Your kids are excited to see snow.
I could see snow right now.
Yeah. We just barely got our first snowfall. Usually it comes way earlier, September, October, and we just barely got snow.
Yeah, our winter has been the same too. We had a couple small snows that just were soft ones that didn't last. They melted pretty quick. But we got our first big snowfall this weekend, and now it's freezing cold.
Yeah, I think Halloween was 60 degrees outside. It was nice. Not normal. 60 and freezing. Yeah, when I was my junior year of high school, my parents moved to El Centro, California. It's the southeast corner of California, just across from Yuma, Arizona. And they would break out the big, heavy down jackets when it would get down to 80 degrees.
Oh my goodness. I just had to convert what 60 was in Fahrenheit to Celsius because I forget all the Fahrenheit stuff. And that's like nothing here. Like life, like sometimes in the summer it gets down to 60. So like that's not bad weather.
So my sister, she lives, a couple years ago, they moved up to Alaska. Oh, okay.
Sure.
Sounds good, Tiffany. My sister moved to Alaska, and I noticed that, I just expected them to be colder. And that year, we were colder than they were the whole year.
Yeah, I think we're finished with all the class stuff. So
Yeah.